Hey everybody, welcome back to Take That L, episode 12. We're going to dive right into things. Tusha's got some things to talk about when it comes to Netflix releasing some free games, so he'll take you right into it.
All right. So this week we're talking about Netflix, as Noah said. If you guys didn't know, Netflix is actually providing its subscribers with mobile game access. They just recently announced that they're going to be releasing 40 free games for Netflix subscribers. They haven't really described into detail what the games are going to be, but I've got a few of them here for you guys. First one I have is called Mighty Quest Rogue Palace. It's supposed to be a spin-off of Ubisoft's Mighty Quest for Epic Loot. Also, Netflix is partnering up with Ubisoft to create, I think it was like two or three games. Another game I have in here is called Vainglory. I've actually played this one in middle school. It's basically a mobile version of League of Legends, and so I'm like, oh, this looks pretty cool. I
Wild
played it
Rift
for
from
like,
Netflix.
yeah, basically, it was okay. I mean, obviously, the mechanics are super basic. It's not as fun as like the actual League of Legends game, but it's decent for a mobile game. The only issue is that only 1% of Netflix's subscribers are taking advantage of this. Obviously, Netflix hasn't been really advertising this much. But yeah, I just wanted to see what you guys think about it.
I think that
Where do you
there's a
find it
reason
in,
for that. I
why,
mean,
where do you
who
find it in the
watches
actual app?
Netflix and thinks, "Oh, I really wish I could play a mobile game right now"?
Where do you find it in the app? Like, is it just like a tab on the bottom? I don't use Netflix all that much. I'm more like HBO Max. I have YouTube TV. I use Disney Plus more. So I don't think I've actually ever seen it in the apps. Just like one of the bottom tabs, or do you have to like go looking for it?
Dude,
I
honestly, I'm
think I
not even
saw
too
it
sure.
once.
Yeah, I
I,
mean, before this, I've never heard about it, and I don't really do a lot of mobile gaming myself, to be honest. So, I mean,
I'm
is
really
there
gonna go
really
check
that?
it.
I know that there's been a lot of like
Shit, it is one of
advertising
the bottom
for
tabs.
mobile games, but does
I
anybody
hate
really
those
even play
ads.
mobile games?
Well, mobile.
No, I
Okay, it's
don't.
not that people. Mobile gaming is one of the largest gaming markets that there is because of how they've monetized mobile games. But most mobile games are dog shit compared to actual games. The problem
Yeah,
is that the people who play mobile games usually don't have either the time or the ability to play better games like on a PC or a console or
Right,
something,
right.
or they're like they're playing it on their way to the bus, and the makers of those games try and monetize them so much that even if you spend just a little bit of time playing it, you'll be heavily incentivized to pay money for it, which is probably why Netflix just jumped on the market. Just like all, and this will tie into what I'm going to talk about later. It's the whole reason why all these companies want to jump on the NFT bandwagon. It's because they know it'll make them money. Like, there's no way that Netflix thought, "Oh my gosh, this is the tie end of the century. We're going to have mobile games on our market." No, the executives were like, "Oh shit, we could make some money on these mobile games."
yeah.
They've
I
actually been
mean,
doing it since November of 2021, so it's been like about a year and a half, close to 2 years, and like
I mean,
no one's really talking about it. Which,
wouldn't mobile gaming? Because I mean, wouldn't you rather just have your Switch along or a DS or something
most
like
people don't
that
have
compared
that.
to?
Most people don't actually have that along with them. Like, they don't bring their Switch on the bus or on the subway or something like that. It's not like people have their Switch on them at all times versus
Yeah,
having
that shit would
like,
get stolen.
yeah,
Stick your Switch on
Well,
there.
so a $300 Switch would get stolen over a $800-900 iPhone or
well, it doesn't fit in your pocket.
Galaxy. I know, but if you have it out, it's kind of the same
I
thing.
mean, because
I guess.
you're gonna have to carry that Switch in like a bag or something. They'll just take that
Yeah.
back
right, right.
because you have to leave it somewhere. So to put it on a chair, someone's gonna yoink it.
Um,
Um, yeah, but
but
you know what I thought was
most,
cool? What I thought was cool with that Netflix did that one time, and I think they might have done it a few times after. What was that one series where you could choose how the
Oh,
story
Minecraft.
progressed?
Bandersnatch?
Bandersnatch. Yeah, I don't remember the
Minecraft
Minecraft
Yeah.
Dungeons
episode.
kind of. You have Minecraft Dungeons on Netflix did the same thing to an extent.
Was it a
Oh,
movie
okay.
or
You
Yeah,
something?
could,
no, they should
yeah,
put
you
more
could
effort
choose
into
the story
those.
throughout that. Yeah, that was cool.
That's
Those are
dope.
actually like fun pseudo games that tie into Netflix because it's like you're watching,
Right.
but you're kind of playing at the same time. Not like,
yeah,
oh, I'm gonna watch a Netflix special and then play a shitty mobile game at the same time.
I think a lot of it is just like an attention game. So like the more time you can keep somebody on Netflix, the more you can like kind of monetize their time or like just get them to be on Netflix more. And they're stepping more into the ad space. And they have like the ad supported version of Netflix. So it's all about just keeping people on their app longer and trying to prevent them from leaving it. But I don't know. There's like actually some like kind of cool things that seems they're doing in terms of like they have like a Narcos game. So they're using some of their like Netflix series and making games out of which I could see being cool. I haven't played any of these, but if they make some cool games out of their properties, I'm down for that. As long as they're not too ad intensive. That's the one shit I hate about mobile games is when I have to literally watch an ad after every single
30-second ad.
Yeah.
And you can't exit out until 15-20 seconds has gone through the ad.
And they're all like built so they have like a fake X, so then you can't click, or you try to click on it.
Yeah.
It like takes you out of the app. I get pissed all the time at how they make those work. But
so to correct my last statement, it was Minecraft Story Mode was the playable story game on Netflix, but they got rid of it end of last year because of the closure of Telltale Games made it unplayable. So they had to take it off of Netflix. So it's not even on Netflix anymore. But
Damn.
Oh, well, they might bring it back because Telltale Games reopened.
did they?
Yeah, they like cut a bunch of their studio developers, and then they like reopened with a much smaller group. I put in one of the newsletters that they were making. If you ever saw, what is it called? Wolf Among Us. They're gonna make
Oh, I
second
think I
one.
remember seeing something on that.
Yeah, it was old now, but that was a cool game when it first came out. That was like the first big Telltale game.
yeah,
And then they just
I know
it was garbage.
The Walking Dead Telltale games are like the ones that probably like reached their highest heights.
Yeah.
Dude, Telltale games, I never really got into them, but I always thought it was a cool genre just because it was all those like quick decision making things rather than like actual gameplay, which
Right.
I'm
I
surprised.
think they
you
made
like
a game for. I think they made a game for the Batman too. They made a Telltale
There's like a
Batman
Game of Thrones one too. They had Borderlands, and like their whole selling point was that it was like every decision you make will make the game end differently. But
that's true.
The reason that they kind of fell down the gutter is one, like the animation quality went down really bad, and people felt that the decision making like wasn't actually changing all that much. Like, it usually just ended up in one or two different endings anyway.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I think.
I mean, they were good for what they were.
Yeah. Going back to the mobile stuff, I think that's a good segue for talking about the metaverse stuff I wanted to talk about. Because there's been a huge, and I think it's been long enough for me to talk about this because no one knows I love shitting on NFTs.
Yeah.
Anything related to the blockchain.
Amen. It's deserved at this point.
Yeah, right at the beginning, I'm like, this is the most scammy shit that ever existed. Everybody's gonna get scammed at a ton of money from this stuff. Like, you should never invest in it. So anyway, I was going on a young binge spree on NFTs because he does a lot of videos on them too. So the first one, Meta, ran by Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook and everything. They've like shifted their identity to Meta, I guess now.
Yeah.
So they're downsizing all of their NFT departments after like huge losses to the company profits, and they're also going to have widespread layoffs, which have been directly ordered through Mark Zuckerberg himself.
Following the trend.
Yeah, so he kind of like came out and gave like this Q&A on Twitter or something, saying like, "Oh, it's just the way of the market," that kind of stuff, not realizing that it was basically his decisions that made them invest in all those bad NFT projects. Have you guys seen how much money Meta has been losing? It's so much money.
That's absurd. It's not only NFTs, but it's also just like the general metaverse. The
metaverse has just been a money pit for them.
Yeah, because they thought everybody wanted to like go into the fucking Matrix metaverse thing where they would live inside of a headset, and I think they're realizing that nobody actually wants. There's a very small amount of people that are actually going to actively use that on a daily basis.
Well, no. Everybody wants to do that. Everybody thinks that's a really cool idea. The problem was that the metaverse looked like off-brand Roblox.
Yeah,
that's true.
But I don't think everyone
wants to do that. I don't think everyone wants to do that.
Dude, if you can go...
No,
I heard so many people talking about how cool it would be. You just put on a headset, and everybody's like, "Oh, the Matrix." Everybody loves that. Nobody loves like when you put on the headset and people are just like floating and walking around with like stiff animations, and it doesn't look anything like reality at all.
Fair.
Right.
But they did want to do a lot of monetization in that, where part of it was like living your daily life and going to meetings inside the metaverse, and then you would pay in the metaverse with all your digital currency and everything. Mm-hmm. So it was like a whole next step aside from gaming into just like a societal norm, I guess. But we talked about this in my class or school, that there was like, last time we looked, there was like 10 or 15,000 players that were like peak active. And I just wonder how long they're going to keep funding it.
I heard that there was like a major esports scene with it or not major, there was like 10,000 people or so who were still heavily committed to this specific VR esport that Metaverse had introduced. And because of all like the layoffs and stuff, Meta basically said, nope, screw you guys. We're cutting off any type of support for that. And they're like trying to look into making their own servers for it. I don't quite remember the name of it, but I remember there's a controversy about that as well. Just saying like, oh, just because you guys are losing, you're going to like lose your biggest fan base because you don't want to support it anymore. Like, this was your best chance and now you just screwed it.
Is that related to the Olympics? Because I heard like the Olympics are doing some sort of like VR esports thing where it's like they're playing games based off like Olympics like sports. Like there's like a game where you shoot arrows and like all that other stuff too. So I'm not sure if that's going to work.
I really do not think that you should have esports in the Olympics, because I think like the whole, like, I'm all for esports and having esports, have its own thing. But like once you start integrating that with like actual athletics, like, let's be honest with what it is. Yeah. It's not a track and field competition.
They just set up like a arcade in the middle of the track field.
Now it would be cool to have like, an esports type Olympics where you have like all these different, gaming tournaments, like for all these different games happening at the same time at one convention. Like, I think that would be dope. But like,
make it like the E-Olympics or something.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Something like that. But not necessarily like you got track and field in 1 hour and then you got people playing League of Legends in the next. Like, everyone's just fucking hating for the rest of it. Like, everyone's gonna hate it. It's gonna bring such a bad rap on it. So
yeah,
I hope that's not what they're doing.
I don't think so. I think, and I've heard a lot of esports projects run at a loss anyway.
Yeah.
So I think it's a long time before we find a good middle place for esports in general.
Well, right now they're intended to generate interest in the games, and that, brings in players to spend money on those games. So for League of Legends, like, it keeps their player base high, so people keep spending money on those fucking skins.
Yeah.
Getting more RP. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
At least that's my view.
So going back to the NFT stuff, we actually had two different game industry like leaders actually bring forth new projects that they're going to be working on NFTs, because everybody loves NFTs apparently. So Square Enix released a game trailer for a game called Symbiogenesis, which is an NFT-based game where like NFTs are heavily integrated into the payment models of the game. Always a terrible idea. And YouTube agrees with me because they got downvoted to hell. Like, wasn't even close.
You can't even see it though. It's just the likes now.
There are ways to actually find the dislikes.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe the new YouTube CEO will change that.
The new YouTube CEO, because he was the one who actually designed the no dislike button in the first place.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, now everybody just does a comment and says use me as a dislike button, and you just like that. Basically,
oh yeah,
really? I haven't seen that.
At least you see that.
That's funny.
On Instagram. You see that a bunch on Instagram.
It's funny.
I'm seeing it on YouTube too.
Life finds a way.
It does. It does. Yeah.
Yeah, and also Nintendo had a Q&A where they basically stated that the Pokemon development studio is going to be hiring an NFT expert for any future metaverse or NFT related projects that Nintendo might have for the game. and I've heard so much stuff. My brother's a big Pokemon fan. Tusha, you are as well. Um, what do you think? Because I've heard so many bad things about recent Pokemon games. Like they're all buggy messes. How do you think this new NFT project is going to fit into all that?
I mean, I'm like you, Connor, where I don't really like NFTs anyway, so it's just to me it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth because I'm more of like the card side of Pokemon. Like I haven't really played the game since I was a kid, and so I haven't really experienced any of the bugs in the new Switch games. I know Curtis, I think you've played the new Switch games, but
There was a couple bugs in some of them, but I haven't played Scarlet and Violet, but I kind of heard that they were just like uncompleted, I guess, in a sense.
okay.
So, for people that have played Sword and Shield 2, that game was just more of like a hand you the campaign and follow these directions, and there was no challenge, nothing. It was just it was stupid.
What gaming chair model is that? Here it is.
Oh my god!
I see you rocking back and forth over there.
Lab's grandma's chair.
This is the 1927 Great Depression special. Okay.
Oh my God. I just see Connor like cat. Like, what is so funny?
Hey, you know what's
We were
funny?
talking and Curtis started rocking back and forth. It was like,
What's even funnier is Connor, you've been frozen for me this whole time, and nobody else said anything, so I figured you guys were okay.
Yeah, he's not
But his
been
picture's been
he's
frozen the
chilling.
whole time.
as
Yeah,
is mine good?
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
good.
you're fine.
Yeah, I figured somebody else would say something, but Connor's been
No, it's
frozen
fine,
on the
but,
same screen.
Why, can you see my hand at all? No.
No, it's
You
just
can't
your
see
head
me.
looking down.
No,
But
it's like
anyways, yeah,
Pokemon.
Sword and Shield were
Okay,
just...
sorry.
It was just like they eliminated the challenge and like the self-exploration, I guess. And they're just like, do this, do this, do this, and then the game's over.
Like
Oh.
I'm assuming you're saying that Sword and Shield's like a handheld, like they're just basically bringing you
Yeah,
along.
yeah.
You don't really have an option to like do your own kind of thing, which I
Yeah,
get,
Legends of Arceus. I thought that was a very good game. They fixed a lot of that in there, and then the remake of Diamond and Pearl was good. So I mean, it's been hit and miss for some of them, but it would be cool to have some sort of VR or metaverse incorporation of Pokemon. Only if they executed it well. But
Yeah,
with the
I
whole
feel like
NFT thing, I'm the same with you
it
guys.
could be cool because Pokemon Go is so popular, and I feel like if you're actually like put on the headset and you can walk around and stuff and throw balls at Pokemon, that'd be pretty cool. But just the whole NFT thing is just still leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Oh, guys,
For sure.
finally a way to spend some Dogecoin.
Yeah. I hope they don't go try to make NFTs like a core part of the game. I think it's fine when you like add it as a collectible and there's like some physical thing, like or if you buy like Pokemon cards or something like that, you like get an NFT with it. Like
Kind of like the
if it has,
amiibos.
like, tangible benefits, like it comes with a physical thing. I think it'll be fine because like NFTs, like the one thing I think it could be good for is like those collectible type things, like sports trading cards, like stuff like
For
that.
sure,
But
yeah.
when you try to like incorporate it into like a way to make money, is where I think a lot of those game companies have failed because it's been pretty much exposed that it's an extremely unreliable way to like make money as an investment. So I just hope Pokemon doesn't make that mistake. And, like,
It's
Yeah.
so it's so weird to me because obviously this is the clear evolution of like microtransactions. Like microtransactions by themselves are usually just NFTs. Like you're
Yeah.
paying for something that's
Digital.
not tangible. You don't own it, and it's going to disappear the moment the service dies. And NFTs in gaming is not going to change that. They're not going to create full systems so you can port your NFT gun skin over to a different game. Most likely.
Right.
Or in most situations, it's not going to port over properly. So you're obviously going to lose that investment the moment you buy it, and no one's going to buy that for a dead game, right?
Yeah.
Unless it
Like
just becomes
CSGO is like the best example in terms of like people buying skins and it like retaining value and you like trade that. But it's not like an investment and you shouldn't try to think of it like that.
But it's so weird.
there
It's
is
literally
people
like
that-
it's just it's slapping a new paint of coat on the same thing and saying it's worth more because it's got a different name.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like,
I agree.
this thing that you bought that's exactly like what it was before is now an NFT and it costs more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure all
It's
the
the same
NFT
thing. It
rumors
is
are
the
going to
same
tell us
thing.
we don't understand the all the NFT.
You just don't understand the blockchain.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't understand the Steam market of CS:GO skins.
Clearly, you've never bought an air fryer before.
Your NFT and crypto winter doesn't understand either. So,
you guys ever watch those big like YouTube channels that expose NFT projects and stuff like that?
I don't. I stopped paying attention to it altogether. I'm just like, I don't care enough. I just stopped. Just waste of brain space at this point.
I know CoffeeZilla is a big one. He's done.
Oh yes.
Like, you've seen CoffeeZilla?
Yeah, well, I've seen him more on like just the general fraud side of things, not necessarily.
Yeah, he does everything. He does like NFTs as well, like big rug pulls on different minted crypto coins, things like that. Yeah, he's a really good content creator. If you guys want to check him out,
he was just on Joe Rogan like 3 weeks ago or something like that. Actually.
Yep.
Nice.
He's exposing the Logan Paul crypto scam.
Yep.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've never liked Logan Paul, so
I like him better than Jake.
fuck them both, honestly.
Yeah,
That's
neither
kind
of them are my favorite people, but I don't know. At least he's got Prime, which is semi-successful. Although I saw it in the store the other day, and it was like $2.69 for a fucking can, and I was like, "You got to be shitting me! Like, this is insane."
Did you see I think it was Europe, where they were selling the Prime bottles for like $100 a piece?
Yeah,
No
it's
insane.
big. Yeah, in Europe, it's like an NFT in itself.
It was like, yeah. People are just like, yeah, we need to get our hands on it. So everybody's like flooding the market and scalping all of them and then selling them online for like hundreds of bucks a bottle.
There was
Hey, at
this
least
one
they're
guy.
buying something they actually own. You know?
True.
I think the more plates, more dates guy. He does like all reviews like all the new like nutrition and like fitness stuff, and like they're presenting Prime as like an alternative to like what is it, Liquid IV. And he was like explaining how bullshit Prime is. He's like it's not bad. It's just like they're super superficial in terms of like doing things for marketing as opposed to like actually being healthy for you.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of the synopsis that I got from it, but
Which I feel like everyone's doing that now with some type of product.
yeah.
But anyways, ready to move on. Kind of taking part of the digital transactions topic. If you guys heard of Crash Team Rumble at all? No,
Yeah,
I
I
was a
heard
fan
about
of
it.
Crash Bandicoot. So it's got the official release date for June 20th. It's coming with a closed beta in April, which runs from the 20th to the 24th. So pre-orders are open for that now, which you can get access to the beta. But the standard edition's coming out at $30, and the deluxe edition's coming at $40. But they're going to incorporate battle passes and seasons into the Crash Team Rumble. So kind of a trend going across there. I don't know what you guys think about that, but the Crash Team Rumble is a multiplayer battle arena video game with 4v4, and you play as the heroes from the Crash universe, the heroes and villains. Only available on PlayStation and Xbox consoles. They haven't said anything about it coming to PC. But I don't know how the whole battle pass and seasons is going to work and why they're doing it with that type of game. But I want to know what
I
you
know
guys
exactly
think.
why any company does a subscription-based
Well,
model.
money, but
I like money.
I mean, how much can you really do with Crash Bandicoot battle passes?
I guess
Mr.
my
Crash,
question
why
is
did
like
you put
one
a
the game.
second battle pass in a game that already had another battle pass? Money.
And the deluxe edition, if you buy it with a pre-order, you get like X amount of tiers already progressed and certain skins or whatever. But do you think that's really going to be a hit with that type of game, or just another money grab?
What
You
is the
think it
game
might be?
though? Like, how do you like? What is the? So it's a 4v4. Like, what's
Assuming it's
the,
like Smash Bros type.
No, the videos I saw, it looked more of like an arena. So you were like a competition 4v4 where you're fighting towards an end goal for it type of thing. I can look back at the article again, but it didn't really seem like you guys were.
Is it
It
third
was
person or is it a first person thing?
third person.
Okay.
So is it like
So it's
you
like
fight the other team, or is it just you're in a separate competition and it's like first finish type thing? I'm trying to understand like what the game is, because like when you say that, like I think of Smite or
It's a
something
bit
like
of
that, where it's
both.
like a
Right.
type game.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of both.
Hey, do you guys remember that one dodgeball game?
Yes.
No.
It kind
What
of, to
game?
me, looks like that, where you're fighting for some type of objective, and you can interact with the enemies while you're doing that.
Okay. Maybe.
Could be interesting.
I'm trying to think of like an example of it. I don't know.
I mean,
But,
I've been playing through the Crash Bandicoot 4, so, and that game's really good. I really like that game. Maybe if they bring that same quality to that, it's weird. I've never thought of like the Crash universe as like some big expansive universe that needed like clashing type games. You know, like
Yeah.
just a big mix up of all your favorite Crash characters.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about it.
So
Could be good.
it almost
but-
looks like a 4v4 domination freestyle type of thing, because it looks like there's a point system where you got to collect as many fruits as you can to get it, but it's like you're all in one arena and you're fighting 4v4 to get to the goal, but you can also fight each other. So it's not like Smash Bros, but it's more of like a team fighting style. Looks like it might be cool.
Feel like Crash Bandicoot.
That's what I'm saying. It just doesn't seem to fit well with like the characters in the universe, like where Crash Bandicoot's follow the trail to the end type thing. And
Yeah, I mean, did you guys ever play Crash Team Racing at all?
no,
Or
No,
it's
I
like
saw it, though.
it's their version of Mario Kart. I have it. It's fun, but it's not anywhere near
that's
Mario
like a
Kart. I
great
know.
equivalent of like Mario releasing like a battle arena type thing. Not Smash. Like obviously, like Smash Bros is
Yeah,
something, but
but I mean, there's SpongeBob Team Kart Battles, I think it's called. So they
Yeah.
have their own racing. But I'm curious to see how this goes. It's coming out June 20th. So if you're interested in the pre-order, go ahead now. Closes pretty soon. Opens up the 20th to the 24th. But
I wish they did an open beta though, man. I like open beta so much to like find out if it's a good game or not. I'm assuming the closed beta is just for those that pre-order, or is that?
yes,
Uh,
yep.
I'm so sick of like games as services. Like, there's only so many games that people can commit so much time into a Battle Pass for. It's just like, and I think companies are finding this out, is that the player base is only going to find the best games out of all the ones that they can play, are the most fun, and play those for most of their time, since that's the thing that has the Battle Pass. Now everybody's time is split between like 2 or 3 games at most, because you got to do other stuff, and then you have to complete the Battle Pass for these specific games. So they're not gonna play 7 different games with the Battle Pass in them.
Right.
It's just
Especially
not
the timed
possible.
ones too.
Yeah.
I mean, how long do you have for Fortnite Battle Passes? I know Smite, their Battle Passes last, I think, 2 months. Close to it.
Fortnite's like 3-4 months. Yeah.
So I mean,
The
it's
last
a
one I completed.
pretty long time that you get.
Took me a while. Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like
Like, think about
maybe
it. Do
just
you guys
have
play?
chests that you can unlock for progress. But
Yeah, do you guys play any? Like, how many games do you play with the Battle Pass in them? Like, consistently enough
Every
to beat
single
the
one.
Battle Pass. No,
Just
I'm
Smite.
saying games
One game.
that you play. Yeah, okay.
And it's
Yeah.
So
I
now
don't play
you're not
enough
playing like
except
4
for-
different games with Battle Passes in them that you beat.
no.
I've only beaten Chivalry recently, and that was only because it wasn't time bound, where it was like you had to do it in a certain amount of time. You just buy the pass, and you can do it for as long as it takes. But
I
that's the
still
only
feel
way
like
I've-
they should stack. Like if you bought the Battle Pass, you should be able to complete it
Yeah, that's
on
the
your
issue.
own time.
No, it's an
That's,
NFT.
that's what Chivalry did.
Yeah. But then, like, if you don't finish it before the next one comes out, then you can't buy the next one. But, like, you can just keep playing it. I think that would be a good idea to have, but at the same time,
Or it's like
You get,
you could only have,
you get a
somehow.
link. You get a link to a PNG of the Battle Pass that you bought.
or you could buy all the battle passes, but you can only have one active at once. So you can buy like if there's 4 battle passes in the game, but they're all like not time bound. You can play anyone that you want, and you just have to have one selected as active, and then all your progress goes towards that battle pass.
Yeah,
That's
that
the
sounds
best
like a good
system
idea.
where it's like, okay, you can buy what you want, and you can work your way towards the progress. But if it's not like you run out of time, you just lose that money because you usually buy the battle pass for what's at the end of it, almost always, because that's always
Yeah.
where the best shit is. But you never have enough time to get it, so it's kind of just tossing money in a drain. But
I just wish we'd go back to paid DLC.
yep, I
Like,
didn't
oh, I'm so
dislike
excited
that.
I get to pay for like a whole new content thing to my game. I was gonna be like, okay, I get to be excited to pay for a new skin for my Crash Bandicoot jeans.
Yeah. Everybody here loves League of Legends. They have a pretty straightforward system. You want a skin, you fucking buy that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's a ripoff. It's at least transparent at the very least.
They have gone away from loot boxes, though. I have noticed that.
League of Legends?
No. Like a lot of gaming companies. I haven't seen a lot of gaming companies introduce loot boxes into their new systems. It's mainly been the Battle Pass system. I think they're kind of scared of pending litigation.
I think the last game that
in terms of like gambling
really had loot boxes was Overwatch, and they got rid of it as soon as
Overwatch
got
got rid of them for that specific reason, because they were going to get sued.
That was the issue Madden had, and that's actually a good segue to the last thing I'm going to talk about. Like, Madden still goes heavy into that shit, where it's like they're like loot boxes are basically packs in that game, where you buy a pack, it has like a certain percentage chance, and they've had to actually like be forthcoming, like on the pack, you can like learn more, and it'll show you the percentage chance of like getting certain players and stuff like that, or certain overall.
That's because they're legally forced to, by the way. Otherwise, they wouldn't.
Yeah.
Correct. There was like I think there's a huge thing in like Australia or something like that, where they had to like take the game down or something when they weren't doing that, or they had to like refund. I don't remember exactly what it was. This was like a few years ago, so I'm like just barely recalling something that I saw, but but that's like one of the biggest gripes people have with that game, and just there's such heavy focus on microtransactions because Madden, like EA's overall revenue, 25% of it or something like that, 20 to 25% of it on a yearly basis comes from microtransactions from Madden. So from loot boxes, they make 25% of their yearly revenue. Did you say something?
That's crazy, man.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Well, yeah, because the way Madden works, I know you guys aren't huge sports games fans. Like, if you don't have the best team at all times, you're just going to get absolutely fucking ran in online. Like, you're just going to get shit on all the time. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I never bought a single pack when I played Madden. I would just grind and get as much currency as I could, and then sit there on the auction place and look for the highest overall and lowest price. But then you would have to have contracts for them. And pay for the contracts. And then once those contracts run out, they eliminated that?
They got rid of that.
That was a pain in the ass for Madden 16, dude. I felt like I was always running out of contracts, and then I go back to the market and there's none there.
Yep.
Or I didn't have any money, and I'm like, well, I can't use this character anymore after I fucking grinded for him.
No, technically you could still be viable if you like literally just grind the game for hours and hours and hours and hours. Like, you could build a viable team, but you just have to like absolutely no life the game. And that has to be like no, they actually came out like in the last few weeks and said that Madden 24 is actually kind of their make or break game for the franchise, at least at EA. There's been so many controversies around the game. You know, the number one being microtransactions, but then also in Madden 23, there's like they pushed out an update that like corrupted a ton of people's save files. So people lost like all of their game data for like the first 6 months that the game was out, or like the first 4 months of the game was out for like their franchises. So they like gave out discounts, like offered early access to Madden 24, to like basically like try to make that right. But
that's bad.
What like the EA leadership has basically said, or it's being reported, is that if they run into similar issues in Madden 24, they're pretty much going to replace the game's leadership. So, like, everybody running the game at, I think it's like EA type earners or something like that, they're basically going to all get replaced. And they're clearing house. The reason for that is because EA has pretty much had a monopoly over, like, simulation football games for the last, like, 15 years, 20 years. Because they have an exclusive rights deal with the NFL. But that's coming up in, like, 2024, 2025. So if the NFL feels like EA isn't taking their like gaming franchise or gaming division in the right direction, they can open that up to other developers like 2K to make competing games. And EA obviously doesn't want that. So I think that's actually why this is somewhat significant, even though like these are notorious games for just kind of releasing the same shit year over year over year. They have started saying that they're like going to focus more on like the single player side of the game, because that's one thing NBA 2K, like their micro system is flawed. Is like, again, these games are very similar year over year. their single player games are much, much, much better than Madden has ever been. So I think it's reported that they're putting a lot more emphasis on like their franchise single player mode as opposed to, again, their microtransactions, multiplayer Madden Ultimate Team mode, which is the community's been asking for years, and they never really execute on it. So hopeful that maybe they'll put out something new and exciting with the next Madden, but not sure if you guys have any thoughts on this because I know you guys don't play it all that much, but at least the kind of state of things for Madden in the last month.
Honestly, if they do focus on more of like a single player drive through with Madden, I would be actually interested in buying it. Because I mean, I would do the online, but when I played the online, it was hit or miss with your connection, or you would get up. It would be like me against Wender half the time, and I would be able to do anything, and then I'd be lagging so hard that even when I would try, I'd be fucked.
Yeah.
So like a lot of the single player, I don't know how Madden is now, where you can choose from defensive, offensive, or anything like that, and then drive your ultimate career. Is that how that kind of works?
Kind of, yeah. You get to like select your position, and then it's kind of shitty. It's not good. There's
I don't know how
mode for
2K
it, it's
works,
not very
but
good.
Okay.
yeah.
Did you say they were swapping the leadership?
Yeah, so like the game leadership would get swapped out. So I don't think necessarily the developers would lose their job. It's the people deciding what gets made and what doesn't.
I'm always happy to hear that.
It's all recorded.
Yeah.
Like, nothing's been like released directly from EA. There hasn't been any statements made publicly.
I think this is kind of saying if the game is a shit show, they're going to be like, we can't do this, because that's got to be a big money contract for them, especially if however many years they read the contract for it. Yeah,
Madden is a top 3 selling game every single year, regardless of how people feel about it. It's a top grossing game in terms of revenue. And
there's been a lot of controversial Madden games where they've been absolute ass.
Yeah, I've been so sick of hearing all these video game companies going down in flames, and then the thing that gets replaced is all the development teams.
Right.
It's like, we know who's making the decisions to put NFTs in these things and make battle passes. It's not the game developers. The game developers are there making quality games. Yeah. We know exactly who's making the market what it is, and they're not usually the ones who feel any of the effects. So I'm always happy to hear that leadership is getting changed.
Yeah,
for sure.
I guess one of the things
until
that
they hire an NFT expert, that's usually.
I don't know how much of this is developers versus like leadership in terms of like time prioritization, but like another thing people have been pissed about this year is just like the game not working. Like your offensive line just like won't fucking block people; they'll just like run right past them, and you're getting sacked in like less than a second. Or they're like, you'll throw right at a receiver and just bounce off their fucking dome, like right off their helmet.
I remember that happening a lot.
Like there's so many clips
they'll go like
year.
this, and it'll just go.
Yeah, exactly. Like it'll just face. Like doesn't make any sense. Like there's just been like a lot of game glitches that just don't look right. And for like a simulation football game that's supposed to simulate like real life football, obviously it's a game. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be 100% accurate. But to have just like these glitches that make absolutely no sense and they're obvious like just coding errors and kind of how the game functions is, again, just a bad look for the game. And I think kind of what they're looking to improve upon with like a lot of the recent perceptions of how quality Madden is as a franchise, despite how much revenue it brings in every year.
Yeah, and I feel like every couple of years with Madden, they fix the previous problems, but then fuck up something that was good already.
Yes.
And then they're just back in like the same old cycle. So it's got to be somewhere in leadership for Madden games specifically, because they fix something and then it's good, but then it's like, why the fuck is this like this? And then people are like, oh, the past Madden was way better with this mechanic, but the new mechanic wasn't in it. It's just stupid.
There's almost going to be
that should be the new motto for modern gaming companies. If it ain't broke, break it.
We talked about that with Modern Warfare too, man. But I don't know. It's just again, they always have to come out, like, especially with these franchises that run for long periods of times. You know, Modern Warfare, NBA 2K, Madden, anything that they release a game every single year, they have to bring new things to the table every single year, which means you can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again. So sometimes that means I think they just change things that shouldn't be changed, and they just try to bring things like new things that shouldn't be fixed or don't need to be fixed, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I don't know. know there's probably enough Madden for you guys, because you guys don't want to talk about Madden too much longer. But I don't know.
Talk about Marvel for 6 hours.
Right.
Yeah, we're don't have to do that again. There's nothing new out, so no reason to do that.
I see so
yeah.
many things talking about how much of a bad state Marvel is in on YouTube. It's crazy. Like every content creator is like, yeah, this is the end of Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially after Ant-Man, I heard bombed pretty bad. But
it bombed the box office, but yeah, we're not going to delve into that conversation because we'll be here for another 45 minutes just talking about Marvel.
Or are we?
No, we're
no.
Come
just to
on.
bring up a couple other things. We'll get away from the Marvel.
I
I know a lot of you guys have been
Drug
excited
into
and happy with Battlefield, the way that's been going, but they're kind of updating their game library now, and they're delisting a few of the games off the market. EA announced that it will be delisting Battlefield 1943 and Battlefield Bad Company 1 and 2 from the digital storefronts on April 28th. All the online services will be shut down on December 8th for those games, so they will be completely unplayable unless they have any single-player game modes available. So kind of wondering if EA is just kind of trying to clean house and focus on newer Battlefields, because I thought I saw an article of a rumor of a new Battlefield coming out after 42 bombed and was updated, and they said now it's good. If you guys have anything to talk about it, I know Noah was specifically excited for 42 when it was coming out, but...
Well, I'll tell you this. The next Battlefield, not pre-ordering it, because...
yeah, I was not jumping on that wagon.
It literally got worse from beta to full release. I've never seen a game do that before. So...
And then it took a year to get better.
Yeah.
And now they're good.
I don't care. They lost me. They took my money and whatever. They can have it, but not pre-ordering.
I used to love Battlefield. Like, Battlefield Bad Company was an amazing game, and so was Battlefield 3.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like them getting rid of it, I mean, is that like a bad sign to get rid of an older game like that?
I mean, I feel like
supporting it anymore, I don't know.
It's fine, because if no one's playing them, like, why even have them up? You know, it's
well, the thing with shooter games is that a lot of those older games are pretty extensively played even to this day. Like, you'll still have lots of lobbies and things like the original COD games.
Yeah, I go back to World at War once in a while, or MW2, MW3, and there's always lobbies open.
Well, there's always lobbies open, but like, it's only a few hundred players online at a time. Like, they're not substantial player bases that are actively online. Sure, it sucks, but this is pretty common across the online games. Like, they sunset games. I'm honestly surprised some of these are still up.
Well, it usually costs very little to keep them running. That's why they usually keep them up for so long.
Especially if the servers aren't full anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have no idea how EA is set up internally, like how they have their server system set up. They have like an entirely separate thing for Battlefield, or if they're like running all their games out of the same server rooms, then they're developing.
The EA servers have never been the best.
No,
to be honest,
they've been terrible.
And the funny thing is that like older games have such dedicated followings sometimes that even when they are sunset and shut down, like gaming communities will like have modded versions that you can still run or set up their own servers.
That's true. I mean, like that's great.
Like Warcraft 3. When did Warcraft 3 come out? Hold on a second.
The biggest thing here is that you just can't buy it anymore, at least from digital storefronts. So if you want to buy it, you're going to have to go on eBay or, find physical copies at various stores, but I'm guessing those won't be available for much longer. So I guess that's probably the bigger thing rather than online services, because, at least you can play the campaigns. I don't know if I'm assuming that they have campaigns. It's been so long since I played them, and I really only played the online version, so.
Yeah. Sorry, I found the thing I was looking for. Yeah, Warcraft 3 came out 21 years ago, and it had a pretty decent amount of people playing, and still playing to this day. Like, obviously they released Reforged, which I talked about before, but people like those older games, and they will stick to them for long periods of time if they're like a cult following game. So the fact that they're sunsetting older, like well-known games and beloved games in the franchises, I think is a warning sign that the company is going through turnover.
Agreed. I don't think you're wrong. I would just say like the difference between that is just there's been a lot more Battlefield games released than there has been Warcraft games, I believe. So just like
yeah,
the
that's
amount
true.
of players, moving on from game to game. Again, we don't know what the active player base is across all different platforms for Company 1 or 2 or Battlefield 1943, but I don't know. I'm kind of indifferent about the whole thing, but you're right, Connor. It does kind of show that there is kind of like a readiness to move on from those old franchises, and I guess it's the 2042 is supposed to be like the establishment of like a brand new Battlefield. It sucks, so they're gonna have to do that again. Basically,
it's like the best way I can think of it is like it's kind of like a replacing of the old guard. It's like, okay, well, the old version of our company were the ones to make those games, so we're getting rid of that and we're starting anew with our new projects. Like kind of like how Blizzard replaced a lot of their original staff, and then like sunset or adapted their games into their updated versions.
Right.
Yeah. Guess we'll see how it turns out. Maybe they're freeing up some server space for 42. Player base came back.
Not that anyone playing.
They have to expand it from 1 person to 2 people playing.
I was still mad. Curtis, I don't know. I heard that everyone was playing, or like there's more people playing like a year later. I tried finding a game like 4 months ago, and I literally was the only person in the lobby out of 128. So I don't know if I was like bugged out in this like lobby that couldn't get populated, but I was sitting in there for like 10 minutes waiting for a game, and nobody was joining the lobby. I joined 4
Army of One.
They should have just refunded that game. Be like, yeah, we fucked up. Give us another year.
Yeah, honestly, but I mean, is there anything else you guys want to talk about? I know that was the last thing we had on the list to kind of chat through. But is there anything else you guys want to touch on?
I do kind of, yeah. I've just been thinking about like the history of games and everything in our time. And you know what I feel like it was a really pinnacle historical moment for us is Cyberpunk. I feel like Cyberpunk, when it released super half-baked, was like the
beginning
apocalyptic breaking of the seals for everything. Do you guys feel the same way about that?
Yeah, because it was such a big, like, marketed game where, they had Keanu Reeves in the game. It was like this big celebrity, and, everyone kind of focused on that as kind of like the rallying point. Like, oh, this could be like a really interesting way to like bring like Hollywood into the gaming industry and kind of move from like, movies to video games. And when that shit the bed as hard as it did, there's just like a lot of trust loss in terms of these big games, especially the ones that get delayed. In terms of like, okay, how ready is this actually? Because everyone just looks back to Cyberpunk and how poorly the game was made.
I think that was like the pinnacle of unfinished games being released or delays and all of that. I think once that really happened, I think that was the eye opener for a lot of gamers. They're like, this game is not even close to finished. This game is like, I feel like all games, not all of them, but there was a lot coming out with so many bugs. Companies that were just having such bad management of their employees, and all of that kind of just started coming after that. So I think that's like one of like the biggest, I guess, historical points for gaming for us so far. Because before that, I felt like games were relatively consistent in quality and updates and everything, and then it just kind of down spiraled.
Whether or not you liked the games that were released, they were still done and they weren't nearly as buggy. You know what I mean? Like they were,
or at least
finished,
they weren't like. I feel like they weren't overhyped,
right.
As if like you would usually be able to tell if something was going to come out half baked. The trailers are like, they're cool and all, but it's not quite there. But I've never seen a bigger trifecta of. Because it had the super respectable major AAA game company, it had like the celebrity backing, and it had the major online hype train, and those are like all things that came into this like tumultuous train wreck.
And it was well funded too. It's not like it was a indie game that somehow got hyped and now they had expectations that they couldn't deliver upon. Like, no, they were the ones that drove that shit. They had like a massive marketing budget, massive development budget, and they still couldn't get it done. I think part of it was, that was kind of the change over to like new consoles. So like they were trying to develop for PS5, old consoles, PCs, and that was still like one of those first games in that, which I feel like is something that game companies are still battling with because they're having to basically develop 3 to 4 different games when they're developing one game, just because all those different engines run differently.
Yeah,
but still doesn't excuse necessarily the product if that gets put out. Like that's still not really a excuse to release a bad game.
I don't remember what happened. I'm pretty sure they were in that lawsuit where they knowingly released it unfinished just for the money.
Yep.
So it just sucks.
Yeah, here's a question I'll shoot to you guys and the audience because I kind of want to think about it a bit more. Can you guys remember any games that came before Cyberpunk that were, and Cyberpunk wasn't this, but I feel like it happened a lot after, that were dead on arrival, like the Battlefield game, like instantly the servers are just dead after full release. Can you remember anything
2?
before Cyberpunk? What was that?
I feel like Titanfall 2 was kind of similar to that because I played the first one. I thought it was really fun. The second one came out and it just dead. Same with Destiny 2. I felt like kind of the original Destiny I thought was awesome, but Destiny 2 kind of did hit or miss and was releasing content here and there.
I don't think I agree with that one. I think Destiny 2 still has a very big player base.
They do, but I feel like it died and then came back, if that makes sense.
Could be.
I just think it was so massive and it just decreased. Like a lot of people fell off.
Yeah, I'm thinking more like it's like the game company releases it, the servers are just empty within like weeks.
Black Ops 4 Blackout. If you
I feel
like that.
No, people played Blackout for months and months and months, man. Blackout was big.
Did they?
Yes.
Okay,
I was going to say
I-
more like Advanced Warfare, some of those like super futuristic CODs.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just me in terms of like, I don't know if the player base was dead, but it, like in comparison to Call of Duty, I would say it was dead. In comparison to, Black Ops 2, you have Modern Warfare 3, the most recent Modern Warfare, or even Modern Warfare 1, like the recent Modern Warfare 1. Like those futuristic CODs didn't do nearly as well until they went like free for like, a weekend or something.
Yeah,
like that.
I do remember that. I still think they had fan bases that like that.
I agree.
Even Call of Duty Ghosts. Ghost died super quick, but it still had.
And I loved Ghosts.
Yeah,
I like
it was
Ghosts,
it
too.
was
Yeah, I played
different.
Ghosts
Yeah,
too.
I thought
Yeah.
it was one of the best, to be honest.
Underrated.
it had its following, and it did die much quicker. But I felt like it still somewhat had a fan base, whereas something like Battlefield 2042, right?
Yeah.
That one, it didn't have a fan base. It had no fan base. It was just, it released and it plopped into the toilet.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I'm just racking my brain trying to think of any other examples that happened before, like, modern times. I can't think of any where they just died so quickly and suddenly, like it never had any steam to begin with.
Yeah, I can't think of any either, but
Closest one
something
I
to
can
think
think of,
of.
like I said, is Titanfall 2, but
Yeah, that's probably the best, the closest one.
Yeah.
As well.
can't think
That's
of
a good
anything
one.
else.
Well, if anybody thinks of any, like anybody in the audience that thinks of anything, please drop it down in the comments. We'd love to hear it. And we always love like analyzing those kind of cases in terms of like what went wrong, in hopes that developers learn from it and gaming companies learn from it and don't make the same mistakes in the future. I know we talked a lot about like failed games or issues in gaming on this podcast, but overall, we're like we want to have an optimistic outlook on like the future of games, and the only way to do that is by looking at what hasn't done well in the past and what has worked well, and kind of trying to repeat. The success.
I'd like to bring like a little segment in future podcasts potentially where we talk about like some interesting indie games or interesting little side projects that we've seen people working on that we're hyped for. I think that would be pretty interesting.
For sure.
Yeah, no, I know you play quite a few indie games more than the rest of us, Connor. So, that's definitely something we'll bring to the table just so we can bring something for you guys to play on a weekly basis. Give you guys something to try every Tuesday. So, I think we can close it off there. We appreciate you guys joining. just make sure to hit subscribe and hit that bell to get notification when we do release a new podcast. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. If it's not banned in the U.S. in the next week, we do post clips of the podcast almost daily on those accounts. So give us a follow there if you haven't already, and we'll see you guys next week.
Peace
Thanks,
out.
guys.
See ya.